Bye, McCoy. Have a fun pajama party day at school.
I will. And a donut party.
Donuts, Lucky.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and I have. Oh, and I have the new jammies.
Wow, reindeer jammies. They go with your slippers.
Yeah. Don't moosh with me. Hey, Dad.
All right. Take a few moments to just center yourself. Check your weight distribution on your feet and feel the breath move in and out of your body. Notice where your hands are hanging. Are you seeing the thumb and the forefinger on the side of your body or more of the back of your hand? Just notice where that is to notice how much of your shoulders or upper back are working or engaged this morning. And then I'm going to have you start on your back. So with this check, please grab your chair or something you can put your legs up over and come down onto your back for static back. Make sure you have your block and your strap with you. And we'll go into this horizontal load. So legs up, arms out to the side. And then again, check your weight distribution between your two sides. Check your low back. So as you get into this position, if your back muscles and hip muscles are communicating well, or even between your hips and your shoulders, the low back should be able to tip backwards into that slight posterior tilt. And that happens the best if your knees are straight in line with your hips. So they should be relaxed, but it's great if the height of your bench holds your legs pretty straight so that that primary hip flexor can release and your pelvis again can just settle or tip backwards on both sides. And this is a place where you may notice one side lets go more easily than the other. And I'm going to have you just bring your arms into that reverse press position, so straight out from your shoulders, and then squeeze your shoulders in toward your spine so that the muscles of the upper back are engaging, and do it enough that you can feel what's actually happening. Are you getting full scapula retraction with that gentle posterior tilt? And as you squeeze your shoulder blades together, did your back want to arch off the floor? Keep squeezing. Close your eyes and feel, do you have more of a squeeze on one side than the other? And how can you even it out? And you may also want to double check as you squeezed your shoulders, is your rib cage and your pelvis still in line with each other? Because sometimes when you come down onto the floor, if your thoracic body is a little bit offset over to one side, then it will be harder to squeeze that shoulder blade, or you'll just notice that you're a little crooked. So you can check that alignment, nose, sternum, belly button. Feel that squeeze and then release your shoulder blades. Elbows straight out from your shoulders, squeeze them in. Feel both sides engage evenly and release. Let's do 10 of them slowly like that. Squeeze. See what's happening on both sides and release. Squeeze and release. Do you get an iPad? There's one on the bench, buddy. Squeeze and release. And then just take your hands, put them behind your head like this, so that your hands are behind and your elbows are back. And I want you just to take 5 deep breaths in and out through your nose. So closed mouth breathing. Expanding your rib cage and putting your arms up like this temporarily opens the upper back a little bit more. So you're getting that thoracic extension, and that should translate from the upper back all the way into the low back. And you may feel that change, something that's happening in your pelvis. So about 4 more deep breaths in and out through your nose. Feeling the lungs expand in all directions. Focus on your exhale coming all the way out, full breath out. Even allow your low belly to pull that breath, to push the breath out. Maybe you notice your upper back adjusts more as that happens. 1 more. Squeeze that breath out of your belly and release. Then bring your hands back up to goalpost. Now we'll move in the shoulder joint. So keep breathing in and out through your nose. Rotate the arm bone in the shoulder joint like goalposts. And I'd like for that shoulder to stay stable while the arm bone moves. And then interlace your fingers, pull your arms over your head, touch the floor above your head all the way over. We'll do 10 pullovers today. Reaching, feeling that the muscles on the side of your body connecting into your shoulder blade are doing something similar. And you could be interlaced or have your hands apart for this so that the arms work independently. All the way over, all the way up. Coordinate that with your breath. We will get the hip to be able to level or change position just by the change that we're asking for at your upper back. Now let's break up the arm bone and the shoulder by bending your elbows. So bring your elbows down by your sides and then reach your arms over to touch your head again like an arm slide, but we have that separation between arm bone and shoulder. All the way up, shoulder blade has to move outward and up in that rotation and bring it down again. All the way up, all the way down. And then check again. Is your low back just gently doing that posterior tilt more easily? And maybe that's happening more easily on both sides. Hopefully that's true. So now I want you to curl, so hands behind your head, a little nod with your head. You can use your hands there. We're going to use the abdominal muscles so that curl all the way up to the tips of your shoulder blades and then roll back down. So we're finding the prime movers of those rounding muscles, the flexors, all the way up, curling. Find those abdominal muscles all the way and then roll down. 8 more. Move as you breathe. Notice if you have hip flexors that want to engage and see if you can let that go. See if you can do abdominals without hip flexors right now. And release. and see if the shoulder blades can stay even on your back. Curling up, tips of the shoulder blades, and rolling down. I think we have 2 more. Excellent. And release. And now legs coming in, we're going to engage the hip flexors. So posterior tilt stays there as you bring your legs in. Let that happen. Legs come all the way in as far as they'll go. Find those hip muscles and then stretch your heels to the ceiling. Pull your feet down and really tighten up your thigh muscles. So if you have any rotation in the leg bone, engaging the thigh muscles so that all 4 of those quads pull the legs into good alignment is part of what we're after with this stable pelvis. So you can't rotate out of this at all right now. The floor is holding you in that stable position. Good. Shoulders even. We've got 9 more of these. Press, tighten your thighs. All 4 quads engage to pull the leg bones into good alignment. Down and release. In, press, down, release. In, press, down, release. In, press, ankles engaged. Last one. I think that was 9, actually. One more. Good. Now let your legs go up there. Check one more time and just check your even weight between 2 sides of your body. Hopefully now the shoulders have come into better alignment. Your pelvis has come into better alignment. We used some of those abdominal muscles and the quads got to work to pull the legs into good alignment. So come on off of there. We did all of that in flexion. So now let's go into a little bit of extension. Grab your block and your strap. So hopefully we've already reduced some of the rotation in your body. I'm going to have your block between your ankles. And then go into this static extension position onto your hands and knees and allow your belly to hang toward the floor, your shoulder blades to squeeze towards each other. And sometimes I see people squeeze their shoulder blades up by their neck, and I really want them to squeeze down more toward the middle back. So let that all hang, let your belly completely relax. Take a big full breath and open up the space on the side body, on those obliques, and letting that low back gently come into extension. And then head drop, and then find the squeeze at your ankles with that block. So that's a little bit of external femur rotation, that pulling the legs out, which engages the glutes a little. Press and release. And in case you had one side of the glute holding or deep 6 holding, this can help release that so we get bilateral extension through the low back. Squeeze, release. And if anybody was feeling like that was hurting the low back, you can come a little more over your hips or over your knees, hips over your knees, and do the same exercise without so much arch. But for most people, your body won't let you arch too far in this. There may be a few people with some stenosis or arthritis in the low back, and they think, I'm going to stay right here. That feels a little better, but still get the active pelvic muscle alignment. You choose. Press and release. Let's do 10 more. Press, feel the muscles on both sides engage. And release, press, hold, release. Still breathing. And gently come on out of that. Have a seat. Just since we were on our wrists, let's do some wrist motion. So down and up and around like big wrist circles. You can go straight out from your shoulders. And the reverse, down and up and around. And just some point and flexes down and up. Take your hands to the golfer's grip to do those. Just tighten those tendons a little more, all the way up, all the way down. Excellent. And then fold one leg in and one leg out. And then hook your left hand. So you go left leg out, hook your left hand underneath your left leg. And then reach up and over with that right arm. And open that side body, pressing your rib cage up to the ceiling. Take a big full breath while you're flexing your foot back and tightening your thigh. Open this side body, let the spine do that lateral flexion. Breathe. And come on up. And then switch your legs. Pulling the left leg in, pushing that right leg out. Hand underneath your calf. And then take it up and over. Rib cage pressing toward the sky. Breathing into that side body, opening that space. And come on up. Come onto your hands and knees, cats and dogs. Round and arch your back. And then from this position, let's start to work hand-leg opposites. So reaching it all the way up, pulling it up as far as you can, hold about 2 seconds, come down, switch sides. Take it all the way up, and switch. For now, just relax your belly, allow your leg to do whatever it's gonna do, coming up, arm and shoulder, finding that connection between the opposite shoulder and the opposite hip. Lift, lower, switch. Now I want you to begin to organize your front body a little bit. So we're going to work transverse abdominis. So right then we just had relaxed belly. Now I want you to engage your transverse abdominis, so that muscle that works like a girdle around your belly. And I just want you to hold kind of more of a flat back position and tuck your toes under, and then just hover your knees off the floor. Hold that. And release. You can just wiggle a little bit, move into that, maybe a cat and dog or two. And then one more time. So engage your front body, find abdominals to be able to hold that more neutral spine. And then tuck your toes once again and hover your knees off the floor and hold. And release. Coming down onto your side. We're going to do an upper spinal floor twist. And I'm going to say I've been playing with upper spinal floor twist bent more than 90 lately, and it feels better to me, easier to engage my hip flexors so that there's good support for my spinal rotation. So you can play with this too and figure out if you like it more at 90 degrees or if you like this a little higher position. Feel for yourself what happens when you open up that arm into that upper spinal floor twist and breathe your shoulder. Again, ideally, we get so much flexion that our knees stay together, or so much rotation that we're able to take that back shoulder and bring it toward the floor. We have to have quite a bit of pelvic stability to be able to let our spine rotate that much. And what I'm finding is that when my knees are bent higher, I have better pelvic stability, better hip flexor engagement to allow that thoracic back to open. Wring out your belly, let those obliques open, untwist, and roll to the other side. And then you choose again, 90 or bent even up higher. And then see what your balance between the two sides is. I still have one side that is more challenging than the other. But once again, bringing my knees up a little higher allowed for greater thoracic rotation. Two more big full breaths in and out through your nose if you can. untwist, and then come up to seated. Cross your right leg over your left. Keep that left leg extended straight out. Take that right hand behind you and feel your seat even on both sides. So butt on the floor as you twist, and anywhere hand to knee, elbow across, anywhere that twist feels good. Feel the weight stay even in your feet, and then begin to use that rotation we just did to help open up the shoulders and spine a little more. Big full breaths into your belly. That bottom leg, straight leg, staying active, foot flexing, thigh tight. Untwist. Switch legs, extending that right leg out, cross the left leg over. Pulling your toes back, tightening your thigh, and then finding wherever you can cross this arm. Feeling the weight stay even on your feet. And twist. Gently untwist. And come onto your hands and knees once more, cats and dogs. Down and up. And then knees together, feet together. Go ahead and sit back into a child's pose, bringing your arms down by your sides. As long as your knees will let you, if you need to put a block there to elevate your body a little bit, you may. Come into a child's pose and just breathe. Shoulders coming off your back, allowing spinal flexion to happen. Big full breaths into your rib cage, into the back body, expanding laterally. And then coming into a hero squat. So if this position is appropriate for you, we're going to start to move into that extension. So I want you to put a big arch into your back. So really roll your pelvis forward and then hands behind your head, pull your elbows way back. So we're using the upper back once again to talk to the low back, to translate all the way down into the hips, and then find the front muscles in your hips, those hip flexors, and really pull a big, 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 big arch into your low back. Find those muscles, hold that, elbows onto your back or shoulder blades onto your back. Feel them both sides, hopefully, moving onto the back, engaging, both hip flexors, active. And then if this feels just enough for you right here, great. If it feels like you can add a hero's pose squat, then press all the way up, keeping that arch in your back, and then come back down. We're going to do 10 of these. Lower down, find those hip flexors, keep that huge arch in your low back, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. Press, keeping that big arch, keeping your elbows pulled way back, feeling if that's happening on both sides evenly. My right one has a little harder time pulling back. Keeping that arch, pelvis rolled forward, sit bones like tailbone lifting kind of, and then press and come down. Elbows back, keeping that arch. And all the way up to standing. And just feel your weight on your feet again. What's happening? Check your hand alignment. If it was here before, have we opened up your shoulders quite a bit? Is that opening up? And then from there, let's go into standing elbow curls. Let's stay with this thoracic extension a little bit more. Feet straight, hands at your temples. I want you to try and hold the elbows back toward the wall. Relax your stomach. Try to touch the elbows back to the wall. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then all the way together and all the way back. 20 elbow curls. Feel it move into your middle back. Lately, there's been a lot of changes happening in my body, but it feels like it is slow like molasses instead of like quick response. So some of these longer holds feel like, oh, that's actually getting the shoulder blade to talk to the middle back, to talk to the pelvis, to talk to the leg bone, but it kind of takes that long. And if I just move through it quickly, then I don't actually get arm bone into shoulder blade into spine communication happening. Good. Shoulder rolls up and back and around. Try to roll both shoulder blades down your spine and have your spine move all the way down to the top of your sacrum. Both sides working. And then feel, does it communicate all the way down both sides? Can you get your middle back to move? That's a place for most of us that feels pretty stuck. And then forward and all the way off your back, rounding kind of through your upper back. All the way protracted away from the spine, retracted, coming back, protracted off the spine, And then backwards once again, up and back and around. And then we're gonna go into flexion one more time. So thighs super, super tight. I want you to reach your arms out so that your shoulder blades come off your back, away from your spine. Your spine gets round, so round that upper part of your back. Thighs stay super, super tight. Feel your belly muscles engage. Feel this side body reaching away as you reach down toward the floor. Keep those thigh muscles, kneecaps lifted, legs as tight as you can. Even if you go into that little bit of hyperextension, that's okay with me right now. All the way down, reach to the floor. Feel your pelvis move over the top of the thigh bones as far as you can go over into that hang. And then we're gonna go the other way. Feel your sit bones pull down toward the floor. Let it round through your back, that's fine. Coming up slowly, all the way, shoulder blades stay off your back. Coming all the way up, and then shoulder blades move onto the back. Let's do that 2 more times. Reach, little head nod, curl, reach all the way forward. Shoulder blades move off the back, legs stay super, super, super tight, letting your spine round 1 vertebra at a time. Coming down, pelvis rolls over your thigh bones, all the way as far as it'll go. Feel those hip muscles engage again. And then come up, sit bones pull toward your tailbone a little bit, and 1 vertebra at a time. Coming up until your shoulder blades come onto your back once again. 1 more, little head nod, full reach, shoulder blades off your back, coming down. Thighs stay tight, 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 tight. Pelvis rolls over top of thigh bones. All the way, see if you can actually feel the creases of your hips, pulling your hips down. Maybe it's tight through the back of your legs, but if you can get those hip flexors to actually engage here, we get that full fold. And then butt muscles squeeze toward your tailbone, coming all the way up. And shoulder blades onto your back. And then just feel your balance there again. Hopefully that feels pretty stacked. Let me just check the time. All right, a couple more here. Go wide with your feet. So taking our feet wide changes what's happening at the level of the pelvis or your hips. And so I'm gonna have you go over all the way, bending, but this time more flat back. So go ahead and just let your pelvis go over the top of your thigh bones until you can come all the way down. And then reach over towards your right foot and bring your left hand all the way over so that from the shoulder blade into the rib cage, all that is opening. And continue to try to pull your pelvis forward or down toward the floor so that your head and upper body comes down toward the floor more. Breathe. Move the air into that big open side body that you've got going there. Other side. Imagine that you have that molasses feeling, that taffy feeling in your muscles, and that as you pull forward and down and over, that you're getting like this, the fascial suit that you're in to shift, or the taffy of your whole body to shift. and release and open in places that maybe haven't in a while. And then back to the center, tighten your thigh muscles again. So you're using the quad muscles around the knee and you're pulling down toward the floor. Use the muscles in the front of your hips and just see, can you feel both hip flexors on both sides? Maybe your hamstrings are too tight to get there, but if you can find these muscles in the front of your hips to actually pull you down toward the floor, we get bilateral hip flexion moving over the top of that thigh bone. Quads tight, hips active. Maybe a little wiggle to get it to actually engage like it's supposed to. And coming all the way up. Come down onto your back. Let's make sure your pelvis stays in neutral. Let's go double, double, double switch. So grab your block and your strap to do that. Let's first take the strap over the leg bones and tighten it down around your knees. Put the block at your feet. Arms out to the side. And push in with your feet and pull out with your knees. So you're doing shins in, thighs out. And then release. Shins in, thighs out. 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 Hold, feel the muscles working, release. Keep going. And then switch sides or switch the block and the strap. So move the strap to your ankles and make sure it's tightened down enough that you can place the block at your knees and hug onto that block, and go the opposite way. So ankles moving outward and knees hugging in, and release. Out, in, release. Out, in, release. And then pelvic tilt. So hold a little bit of that out with your ankles, squeeze in with your knees, and just rock your pelvis. So with the leg bones really stable, just roll the pelvis backward and forward so that you have that good movement through your spine. And release your block, release your strap, and legs back up your block or back up over your bench, or just out straight on the floor. And you could do a few femur rotations or a few arm rotations. And just make sure your nose and your sternum and your belly button are all lined up. Your rib cage is in line with your pelvis. That's your axial skeleton in line with your appendages or your appendicular skeleton. And begin to focus on your breathing. Move the breath gently in and out through your nose. And begin to allow anything in your mind to just drop back. Allow the sensations in your body to be what you're most aware of. The sensations in your body as if they're just energy. And if you notice that a thought arises, do your best to try to look for who is thinking or where is the thought coming from. Noticing that all of these things are just arising in awareness, in consciousness. Consciousness is already aware of the sensations of your body or the thoughts that are arising. And when you notice that you're identifying with the thought, see if you can drop back into that witness or awareness of awareness, into just consciousness. Or poke around in the thought. Again, where did it come from? I find often when I go to investigate, it simply just fades away. But if I'm taken into that thought, then I start going into more of that story. So once you notice that you're thinking, just name it, thinking, and drop back into this moment right here, this present moment. Hear the sounds. Feel the sensations. Notice your breath. Once again, hear the sounds. Feel the sensations. Notice your breathing. And then begin to come back around. And we'll have a few minutes just to check in or ask any questions. Unmute yourself if you'd like to talk.